All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh by Yashem, Yahweh Shai by Yashem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well, and peace and salutation unto the hopefully elect, the 1/3 of Yasha Allah, upholding the laws, statutes, and commandments to the best of their ability. Peace and salutation. This is the brother Bakwasha. And I have a quick article I'm going to cover here in the spirit, and it really recaps a lot of the things that have recently happened and really where Babylon, aka America, is heading. And even if you look at this photo, it says no worries, right, on the ship, but the ship is pretty much, for the most part, sunk, right, or is sinking. And really all of that is in accordance with prophecy, man. And I'm going to start here in the book of Isaiah, the 2nd chapter in the 11th verse. It says, "The lofty looks of man shall be humbled, and the haughtiness of men shall be bowed down. And the Lord, Yahweh Shai alone, shall be exalted in that day." And this is the day of Yahweh Shai returning, man. Okay, this is the day where there will no more be any haughtiness. There will no more be any loftiness. There will no more be any pride. There will no more be any arrogancy. There will no longer be any wickedness. There will no longer be any violence from the wicked. And so this article is going to cover, it says, cascading collapse, America at the edge of systemic breakdown. And this is from classautonomy.info, October 8, 2025. And I'm just going to jump around here a little bit because it covers a lot of great points. Literally, this could be a lesson of every day just because of the topics that are covered here, but it also just shows how this place is being brought low. And let's just grab that real quick, because these scriptures were never taught to our people as any type of hope, you know, and because of that, our people have been in despair. And obviously, this is all in accordance with prophecy, but matter of fact, let's bring that out real quick. I believe that's Psalm 73, and yeah, we'll read this real quick. This is Psalm 73, verse 16. It says, "When I thought to know this, it was too painful for me until I went into the sanctuary of Yahweh Shai. Then understood I therein." So before the prophets of Yahweh Shai, before the apostles, the bishops, and elders of Great Millstone, our people didn't have any hope. And in the land of our captivity, without this truth, without our identity, we would have ultimately been destroyed. But now all of those same scenarios that were hidden from us by the wicked are now revealing who the wicked is in accordance with prophecy. So let's bring this out. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 12, and I'm going to start at 1. It says, "Remember now the Creator in the days of thy youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them, while the sun and the light, or the moon, or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble." And that's what's going on when you see a system that has been running for 250 years now breaking down. They're trembling. Okay. It says, and the strong men shall bow themselves, just like what we had read in Isaiah, the 2nd chapter in the 11th verse. It says, and the grinders cease because they are few. Okay, there's not many jobs. You can't really go out there and have any type of sustainability. Okay, it says, and those that look out of the windows shall be darkened, and the doors shall be shut in the streets, when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of a bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. Okay, and so let's get into the article real quick. Like I said, just have a couple quick scriptures, but we'll start here at the top. It says, as autumn 2025 begins, the United States stands on the precipice of systemic transformation or collapse. Systems, science, world events, and contemporary warnings about war, climate change, and resource depletion offer a lens to interpret this moment. Real world facts, job losses, government shutdowns, food price surges, mass farm bankruptcies, bond market distrust, deep institutional fractures, geopolitical threats, and planetary limits sharpen the picture, revealing not just theoretical risk, but lived and looming catastrophe. And all of this doesn't even talk about the day of Yahweh by Shemi Yahushai. Okay, this is just talking about a system that has ran its course, and it was never established as an eternal way of living, because it was set up in wickedness. It was set up on bloodshed. Okay, and so all of these things that have been done are now, as they say, coming home to roost. Okay, let's read on. Let's read down a little bit and then we'll jump down. It says, the anatomy of a shutdown. On October 1st, 2025, the United States was thrust into a profound crisis as the federal government officially shut down following Congress's failure to pass a bipartisan spending bill. This breakdown is not a mere lapse in routine governance. It marks the largest and most disruptive shutdown since 2018, unleashing immediate, far-reaching consequences for millions of Americans. And so if you think about it, and obviously, Satan casting out Satan, right? These are the things that Esau has always done, but now it's affecting the people. But it's being done to implode this society, okay? Because it's at its final end. And the downfall of this economy is now going to usher in the digital age of now having people to buy into this MO to the T to the B system, okay? So the system is going to remain. It's just going to transition from the analog to the digital, because this is where the charagma comes into play, okay? To where now all buying, all selling, all commerce, including people, will be a part of this now new setup system, okay? But the way that these two horns as a lamb are speaking, the whole system is draconian, because it leverages the people as collateral towards the upbringing of a whole new system. And that's part of the reason why this whole system doesn't have any more jobs. It doesn't have any life in it, because it's a system. It's a systemic or systematic implosion. It's an intentional demolition. Okay. Let's bring this out real quick. This is Isaiah chapter 13, verse 6. It says, "Howl ye, for the day of the Lord is at hand. It shall come as a destruction from the Almighty. Therefore shall all the hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt, and they shall be afraid. Pangs and sorrows shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth. They shall be amazed one at another. Their faces shall be as flames. Verse 9, behold, the day of the Lord cometh cruel, both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. And so all of this is just a preliminary version of Yahweh Shemi Shai visiting this earth. Because as prophecy continues to unfold, Babylon in itself is going to become more and more weak. Okay? But it's being done as a testament to prophecy, and it's a testament to these people receiving the wrath of Yahweh Shemi Shai. And this is just the beginning. Okay? There hasn't been thermonuclear fire. There hasn't been a destruction. The chariots have been sighted. Okay? But there hasn't been an onslaught of judgment to this place. And that is what is nigh, along with deliverance. Okay? So let's read down. It says within hours, upwards of 750,000 federal employees, nearly 40% of the total workforce, received furlough notices, suspended their wages, and placing families in every state into sudden financial uncertainty, which was deliberate. Okay, the daughters of music are being brought low. Departments scrambled to deliver guidance as funding vanished. But once again, this nation can fund every other venture except for the society in itself. This is why it's a controlled demolition. There's money. The money's just not allocated to the people any longer. Okay. It says departments scrambled to deliver guidance as funding vanished. Those classified as essential, such as border enforcement agents, air traffic controllers, emergency medical services, and law enforcement, were ordered to work without pay with the hope of retroactive compensation once government operations resumed. However, those in non-essential roles have faced indefinite unpaid leave, and contractors for federal agencies have seen projects halted or canceled outright, endangering countless small businesses tied to government work. So all of that money that was used to bridge people from the quote unquote scam, right, to now where they are currently. See, hey, Babylon is through. And you can always tell it's wickedness because it shut off right as they turned the corner. So it wasn't anything that was happening. It's just it's a time of the times. It's a sign and a time of where we are in prophecy, man. Because even when you think about sirens in themselves are just a calling out, but typically it's like an alarm, and that alarm is that this place is done. Okay, back to this to the article. I'm gonna read it again. It says those classified as essential, such as border enforcement agents, air traffic controllers, emergency medical services, and law enforcement, were ordered to work without pay with the hope of retroactive compensation once government operations resume. And so once again, this government system doesn't have money. So how is the shutdown going to help when people are still working and furloughed and they don't have any money to sustain themselves? This will cause a strike. This will cause people to rebel. Okay. It says, however, those in essential roles have faced indefinite unpaid leave, and contractors for federal agencies have seen projects halted or canceled outright, endangering countless small businesses tied to government work. So, so the point in which I was making, which was all of that money that was given away for a stimulus, that was intentional as well. Billions of dollars was sent out and people were arrested. True, but all of that was a part of this demolition, man. Okay? But it's going to be judged for all of these things in which it's done. That's why this system breaking down is only a sign of prophecy being fulfilled. Okay? Let's read down. It says, Isaiah 13:10, for the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened in his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine. Verse 11, and this is the point. And I will punish the world for their evil and the wicked for their iniquity, and I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease and lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. America hasn't been under these types of distresses in 250 plus years, because the initial development of Babylon, aka America, was through slavery, through hardcore cargo slavery. Okay, the first business, and matter of fact, the name of this book is called Slavery's Capitalism. Okay, everything that Babylon, aka America, has been built off of, right along with this world, has been off the backs of so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. So Yahweh Shemi Yahushua is just bringing this place down to its knees, man. Okay, and these are just small remnants of what's going to happen. So let's slide down here. More layoffs, right? Let's see here. By the fall of 2025, nearly 1 million jobs have been cut across the United States, marking the highest year-to-date layoffs since 2020. Once again, it's a systemic breakdown of a society, but it's also Yahweh Shemi Yahushua making this place weak. And let's grab that real quick since it's right here in the next chapter. This is Isaiah 14:4. It says that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how hath the oppressor ceased? The golden city ceased. The Lord hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepters of the rulers. Okay. And that's what's happening, man. Okay. This place that used to be so adorned for people to come and visit, year 5 post scamdemic, right? Here we go again. And really since quote unquote 9-11, okay, all of these things have been happening systemically. That was just the first domino that fell. Or if you want to call both of those dominoes, right? Which now snowballed into now these same things that were once done every 40, 50 years, now being done every 10 years, now every 5 years. And sooner than that, because this place is in the crosshairs of Yahweh Shemi Shai. Okay. Let's jump down to verse 10. It says, all they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? So the rest of these other heathen nations have seen Babylon, aka America, be that golden cup. But now the job market has been sent overseas. The labor force is digital. There's no more jobs. This place is a sitting duck, man. It says, by the fall of 2025, nearly 1 million jobs have been cut across the United States, marking the highest year-to-date layoffs since 2020, a pandemic-era crisis year. According to the outplacement firm Challenger, Gray, and Christmas, 1 million workers had already been laid off through September. And projections suggest total layoffs may exceed 1 million by year end. While this is below the staggering 2 million cuts during the height of the pandemic, it signals a severe and sustained labor market weakness. I'm going to read it again. Isaiah 14:10. All they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? You see, because the glory of kingdoms, Babylon, aka America, was driven off of its sword and its economic strength, the fatness of the earth. Now all of those things are being siphoned by Yahweh Shemi Shai as he returns, man. Okay? Yahweh Shemi Shai is a man of war, bro. And prophecy is being fulfilled. What does the scripture say? I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places, right? It says Jeremiah. Let's read verse 7. Jeremiah 49:7. Concerning Edom, thus saith the Lord of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman? Is counsel perished from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanished? Because it's through that sorcery, through that deception, through those lies, is how they gained and conquered all throughout the earth. But what does scripture say, verse 10? But I have made Esau bare, I have uncovered his secret places, and he shall not be able to hide himself. Okay? Because now that kingdom is now become weak, just like all the rest of these other heathen nations. Okay? So, right. So we covered the labor weakness. Let's scroll down some more, because this is all going into the agricultural meltdown. We'll bypass that because it ain't real food here anyway. The war with Russia. Like I said, all of these are great topics to cover because, yeah, let's talk about this real quick. It's great topics to cover because it just proves prophecy, man, that we are in these last seconds of this queendom, man. Okay. And Lord will about to be delivered from it. Okay. Let me see here. Yeah, Esau's making up stuff with climate change. Okay, yeah, let's read this. Synthesis. America's engineered, downfall in multiplying crisis world. Man, call Allah Yahweh Shemel Shad, man. And like I said, I didn't even have time to read. All of this is just on the fly, but let's read down. It says, America's current crisis is not an isolated episode, but a vivid manifestation of a global system under mounting, interlocking pressures. The recalibrated World 3 model, as well as the latest analysis of limits to growth, show that the United States is not alone in facing the specter of overshoot and collapse. These are now global phenomena, with the U.S. serving as the bellwether for the fate of other advanced economies. What makes this moment uniquely perilous is the way crises now interact. War threats, climate shocks, and resource depletion do not simply add to the burden, they multiply it. Each new crisis, whether a geopolitical escalation, a climate-driven disaster, or a food system breakdown, feeds into and amplifies the others, accelerating the pace and severity of systemic breakdown. The World 3 model's recalibrated projections show that the interconnectedness of modern societies, once a source of resilience, now acts as a conduit for cascading failures. Now, I had mentioned that in the spirit. This place is snowballed. Okay. Let's grab this. This is This is Jeremiah chapter 53 and verse 30. So like this is Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 31. It says, Behold, I am against thee, O thou most proud, saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, for thy day is come, the time that I will visit thee. And that's exactly what's happening, man. Everything that once used to happen sparingly, now is happening in abundance. Crisis after crisis, whether it be psychological operations or whatever it may be, it's being amplified, it's being compounded, it's being multiplied. Okay? It says, Jeremiah 50, verse 32, and the most proud shall stumble and fall, and none shall raise him up. And I will kindle a fire in his cities, and it shall devour all round about him. So all of this is a escalation. Everything from this point going forward is going to be turned up. Okay? Babylon falling, the military, the ICE, all of these scenarios are all at play because Yahweh Shem Yahushua is visiting this place. But more specifically is bringing judgment to Babylon, aka America, man. Let's bring this out. This is Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 7. It says, Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. So this golden cup that this society, Babylon, aka America, used to be, is no longer golden anymore. It's receiving judgment. Not a full-on strike by Yahweh, by Shemi Shai, but just like you have smaller skirmishes before the ultimate war, that's exactly what's going on. The smaller battles lead up to the bigger and the biggest war. Okay. Back in the article, it says each new crisis, whether a geopolitical escalation, a climate-driven disaster, or a food system breakdown, feeds and amplifies the others, accelerating the pace and severity of systemic breakdown. The World 3 model's recalibrated projections show that the interconnectedness of modern societies, once a source of resilience, now act as a conduit for cascading failures. Resource depletion, not pollution, is identified as the primary trigger for the imminent tipping point, with the model forecasting sharp declines in industrial output, food production, and human welfare between 2024 and 2030. That's why the nations are mad, man. Scripture talks about how these nations have lived deliciously off of this place, man. Okay. This is Revelation 18 in verse 9. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication, we just read that in Jeremiah 51. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. And that's going to be when Babylon is judged. We are at the precipice of Babylon being judged. And all these other heathen nations that are going to be judged right along with 2/3 of our own people. Okay. But 2/3 of our people haven't lived deliciously like the rest of these other heathen nations have. Our people don't own anything. Okay. These other heathen nations have used us for human resources. Okay. Now all of that's going to be replaced by automation, artificial intelligence, okay, drones, clones, robots. Okay. Let's read maybe one more. Ooh, man, this is a good article here. Okay, maybe three more. The end of America normal. Woo! Yeah, I might have to just read this one for the second time. All right, so it says, this is not merely a theoretical risk. The past decade has seen a series of rapid reversals in major industrial economies. The CV-19 pandemic exposed the fragility of global supply chains. The war in Ukraine and escalating tensions with Russia have destabilized energy and food markets, and climate-driven disasters have inflicted record economic losses and displaced millions. Each event has tested the limits of institutional capacity, social cohesion, and economic resilience. revealing vulnerabilities that are now being exploited by new shocks. The best analysis now point towards a global transition, not just national hardship. And that global transition is going to be the Charagma, man. Okay, a digital society that monitors and tracks every move, every thought, every transaction. Okay, it says tipping points, moments when incremental stresses trigger abrupt and irreversible change are likely to be reached by 2030, if not sooner. The recalibrated World 3 model suggests that the exponential growth curve. What's this World 3 model? I've been looking at it too long to not know what it is. Oh boy. When you see this guy, you know what time it is. It says the World 3 model is a system dynamics model that simulates the interactions between global population, industrial growth, food production, resources, and pollution. Developed by the Club of Rome. Boy. For the book, The Limits to Growth in 1972, the model was designed to explore the consequences of exponential growth on a finite planet and the potential for a sustainable future. Basically, Esau is saying too many people are going to overtake the resources, and that's a part of his eugenics thought process anyway. But he's the one that is accelerating the implosion of life because he's not the person that's supposed to be managing. He's not a steward. He's not a good steward. Okay, he's the worst steward ever when it comes to life. Okay, and I want to dive into this so bad. It says, developed by the Club of Rome for the book The Limits to Growth in 1972, the model was designed to explore the consequences of exponential growth on a finite planet and the potential for a sustainable future. It uses complex feedback loops to represent how the factors are interconnected and can project different future scenarios based on varying assumptions about growth, technology, and policy. Yeah, y'all brothers can check that out. Yeah, that may be something on my own. But yeah, let's go ahead and wrap up real quick. It says the recalibrated World 3 model suggests that the exponential growth curve, that's what we just looked at, that has defined the past 2 centuries is ending, and that the world is entering an era of managed or unmanaged degrowth. The only question is whether societies will adapt proactively or be forced into decline by the inexorable logic of resource limits and systemic interdependence. What is this word?
Inexorable.
Inexorable. Impossible to stop or prevent. The only question is whether societies will adapt proactively or be forced into decline by the impossible. Is inevitable here? Yep, there it is. By the inevitable logic of resource limits and systemic interdependence. For the United States, this means that the current crisis is both a symptom and a catalyst of a broader global transformation. The choices made in the coming years about resource management, social equity, and international cooperation will determine not only the nation's trajectory, but also its role in shaping the post-growth world that is now emerging. The stakes could not be higher, and the window for meaningful action is rapidly closing. This place is done. This place is done, man. Yeah, let's just wrap up this. This is Isaiah 24 and 21. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the high ones that are on high, and the kings of the earth upon the earth. See? So yeah, all the kings, Esau, the other heathen nations, because those are the only true kings on the left-hand side, because they have all the resources and the control, the levers, the mechanisms, the Model 3, the Model 5, whatever, that it doesn't matter. Okay? They're about to be punished. Okay? And when destruction has occurred, verse 22 says, and they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit, and they shall be shut up in the prison, and after many days shall they be visited. So yeah, you're gonna have Esau trying to hide in the rocks. Let me see if I can find that verse. Yep, God. That's the spirit. This is Isaiah 2 and 12. For the day of the Lord of hosts shall be upon everyone that is proud and lofty, and upon everyone that is lifted up, and he shall be brought low. Okay. Verse 19, it says, and they shall go into the holes of the rocks, into the caves of the earth, for fear of the Lord, and for the glory of his majesty, when he ariseth to shake terribly the earth. So yeah, man, through the spirit, Babylon is on its last limb. And this place is about to be judged. And this is only, I don't know, maybe 50-60% of the article. And there's many more points. So Lord will, I'll leave this in the description box. But once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutation unto the hopeful elect. Until next time, I'm going to say Shalom. Kwam Yashallah.